I am only a faded primrose, dying for want of air. I and my drooping sisters lie in a garret bare. We were plucked from the pleasant woodland only a week ago, but our leaves have lost their beauty and our heads are bending low. We grew in a yellow cluster under a shady tree, in a spot where the winds came wooing straight from the Sussex sea, and the brisk breeze kissed us boldly as we nodded to and fro in the smiling April weather. Only a week ago. Only a week this morning. Ah me, but it seems a year since the only dew on our petals was a woman's briny tear. Since the breeze and the merry sunshine were changed for this stifling gloom, and the soot of the smoky chimneys that robs us of our bloom. We grew in a nook so quiet, behind a hedge so high, we were hid from the peeping children who laughing passed us by. But a primrose gatherer spied us, his cruel hand came down. We were plucked in the early morning and packed and sent to town. We were tossed in a busy market, from grimy hand to hand, till a great rough woman took us and hawked us about the strand. Clutched in her dirty fingers our tender stalks were tied, and "A penny a bunch, who'll buy 'em? Fine primroses," she cried. We lay on the woman's basket till a white-faced girl came past. There was such a world of yearning in the lingering look she cast on the tumbled bunches. A look that seemed to say, "Oh, if I only had you." But she sighed, and she turned away. She was only gone for a moment, and then she was back again. She'd the look on her pale, pinched features that told of the hunger pain. She held in her hand the penny that ought to have brought her bread, but she dropped it into the basket and took us home instead. Home. How we seemed to wither as the light of the day grew dim, and up to a London garret she bore us with weary limb. But her clasp, it was kind and gentle, and there shone a light in her eyes that made us think for a moment we were under our native skies. She stole in the room on tiptoe, and "Alice," she softly said, "see what I've brought you, Alice." Then a sick girl raised her head, and a faint voice answered, "Darling, how kind of you to bring the flowers I love so dearly. I've longed for them all spring. I've thought of it so often, the green bank far away, and the posies we used to gather. It seems but the other day. Lay them beside my pillow. They'll last as long as I. How quickly in cruel London the country blossoms die." We pined in our gloomy prison, and we thought how sweet we were, blooming among the hedgerows out in the balmy air, where we gladdened the eyes that saw us all in our yellow pride, and we thought how our lives were wasted as we lay by a sick bedside. We thought how our lives were wasted until we grew to know we were dear to the dying work girl for the sake of the long ago, that her anguish was half forgotten as she looked upon us and went back in her dreams to the woodland filled with a primrose scent. We primroses are dying, and so is Alice fast, but her sister sits beside her, watching her to the last, working with swollen eyelids for the white slave's scanty wage, and starving to save her darling and to still the fever's rage. We stand on the little table beside the sick girl's bed, and we know by the words she murmurs that she wanders in her head. She stretches her hand to take us and laughs like a child at play. She thinks that she sees us growing on the old bank far away, Forgotten the gleamy garret, the fierce and the fevered strife, forgotten the weary journey that is ending with her life. The black, black night has vanished, and the weary work-girl hies back to her country childhood, plucking a primrose prize. We have banished awhile her sorrow. We have brought her back the sunny smile that belongs to the children's faces in the days that are free from guile. The Babylon roar comes floating up from the street below, yet she lists to the gentle plashing of a brook in its springtide flow. The gurgling brook in the meadow with its primrose-laden brim, how thick were the yellow clusters on the bank where she sat with him who had loved and lost her, who had trampled a blossom down. Ah me, for the country blossoms brought to the cruel town. Thank God for the good brave sister who found the lost one there, who toiled with her for the pittance that paid for that garret bare, who slaved when the wasted fingers grew all too weak to sew, and hid all her troubles bravely, that Alice might never know. We have brought one country sunbeam to shine in that garret bare, but tomorrow will see us lifeless, killed by the poisoned air. Then the primrose dream will vanish, and Alice will ask in vain for the poor little yellow posy that made her a child again. On to our faded petals there falls a scalding tear, as we lie tonight on the bosom of her who held us dear. We shall go to the grave together, for the work girl lies at rest, with a faded primrose posy clasped to her icy breast.